Okay, welcome to the August 20th regular meeting of the town of Neepawa. So our first order of business will be to approve the agenda. So be it resolved that we hereby approve the regular meeting agenda for August 20th, 24, moved by Councillor Pottinger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Parrott. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have a couple minutes here before the public hearing, so we'll start off with some council reports.
Oh, the minutes.
No, gotta do minutes. Oh, yes, it is, sorry. Okay, so minutes. Be it resolved that we hereby approve the minutes of the regular meeting and the public meeting held July 16th as circulated. Moved by Councillor Kostenchuk, seconded by Councillor Nadeau. Any questions from the minutes? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now we'll try some council reports. Anyone?
Maybe we won't.
It's summertime.
Yeah. I can report briefly.
Oh, sure.
The Yellowhead Board met. We're having some difficulties with the startup of the ice plant, and subsequently some of the ice time has had to be changed and canceled. They're hopeful that things are a go now, but it remains to be seen how that fix will work and whether we'll have ice shortly or whether it'll take a little bit longer. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Okay. I guess I can probably just indicate that today Deputy Mayor Parrott and Colleen and myself met with Trina Slate and Dan McGregor. The conversation revolved around the community contributions by the town and RMs for the new hospital. So we're just in the process of getting through all that information. Councillor Sisley.
Day camp is winding down for the summer. It was extremely well attended and extremely well run this year with Preston Finney, Ruby Ray, and Katie Ray Byram. So I wanted to send out a thank you as I've been able to do some programming with them, and they're just fabulous with the kids, so they did great. We have bat houses that have been built by Neepawa Men's Shed that will be going up around town. If anybody doesn't know, bats are excellent pollinators. They keep insects under control and they help with seed dispersal, so they're very good to have around. You can contact Neepawa Rec to find out how you can be a sponsor for one of the 12 bat houses that they'll be putting up. Children's Business Fair, it was a huge success yet again, with 17 young entrepreneurs selling just over $1,700 in product. The kids, what they came up with, and some of them, I know some of council was here and got to see, I know, our one woodworker, and there was just some fabulous stuff. Oh yeah, it was phenomenal. So the kids did great. What's the Big Idea is scheduled for October 17th. Maryland's already working with 4 businesses, but if you are interested in partaking in this event with a business idea, please contact Marilyn, our EDO. And just lastly, I was able to attend the Rolling Barrage gathering and the meal at the Legion on August 9th. And it was just so awesome to see how many people came out to support all of all of the people that were part of it. What Rolling Barrage is it's a ride across Canada to raise funds and awareness for PTSD. For people that serve our communities and the country. So RCMP officers, Army, firefighters, and first responders. So it was nice to be able to see everybody and welcome them.
Thanks, Juan. Anyone else? No? Okay, I guess it's time we can move into our public hearing. So the resolution, be it resolved that we do now open the public hearing to hear representation to variation application V052024 of Elmer and Madeline Barriuga. Moved by Councillor Kostenchuk, seconded by Councillor Sisley. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, Scott?
Okay. So the application for this variation is V005-2024N. The current owners and applicants for this application is Elmer and Madeline Barriuga. The current area affected is 185B of number 5 PTH North, or better as described as Lot 1, Plan 7817. The variation requested is to intensify a non-conforming use to allow for the construction of attached garage within the CH Commercial Highway Zone. And the reason we'd be in support of it is to allow the construction of attached accessory structure within the Commercial Highway Zone. The notice has been circulated as required 14 days prior to the public hearing. We have not received any comments, concerns, questions from neighboring property owners. The Planning Act allows us to vary non-conforming parcels or structures to a certain extent, and I believe this request is quite reasonable.
Yeah, and some of the pictures you provided, it looks as if this has been a normal request at,
Yeah.
at other times as well.
Yeah.
It's actually just nice to see that someone's going ahead and going through the proper permitting process so that we can make those decisions, and that's appreciated.
Yeah, he was the applicant. He's been great to deal with
Great.
throughout the whole process, and very, very willing to work with everyone that's needed.
Perfect. Any other questions? No? And I don't see anyone here opposed to that, so I guess we will move on. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn this public hearing at 7:08 PM. Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Kostenchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, maybe we'll go on with manager operations report, Denise.
So it's been busy, but also quiet at the same time. That makes sense. Because there's been a lot of staff coming and going on holidays right now. As of today, we just did 2 loads of dust suppressants around the gravel roads around town. So we redid the hospital road again, with it seeing so much construction traffic. And with all of our road patching partially complete, let's say partially because we still are, guys are still getting hot mixed and we're still doing some of the bigger patch work, but we managed to sweep up all the loose aggregate from the asphalt patcher, which then enabled us to complete painting. So then that's pretty well complete. We'll just have to check with staff to see if there's any other spots they missed. More recently, wastewater treatment plant training has started today for the new facility. So our contractors are out from Quebec training our water plant staff on how to operate the wastewater plant. There's about 3 days worth of training happening there. They're still working on the equipment and just fine tuning some of the treatment processes to see how it's working. So they're up and down with chemicals and some of the mechanisms and machinery. The latest one I'm working on right now is still trying to locate a mowing contractor. Doing work to finish off mowing all of our side roads. Anything else that's just too much work for our park staff to mow on. And then we've got contractors working on other items such as culvert ends, just doing some riprap and correcting some erosion. We'll be removing all of the brush out of the compost site this week, so we'll see trucks moving and clean that site again. That's what it is right now.
Okay. Any questions of Denise? No? Okay, thanks, Denise. So I guess we can move right into John, if you and Ray want to come up to the table here and talk to us a little bit about handyman. So welcome. So we know the handyman's a pretty important service to our community in that, and so we know that you've been running into some challenges in that, and I guess what we're hoping tonight is that you just explain a little bit to us, help us understand what's going on with the handyman and just where you guys are at.
Okay, we'll let John do the talking, he's got all the numbers and everything in front of him there, so.
Our bank balance currently is $28,658 in the hole. Is where we're at, and that was just with our $15,000 government funding. Our government funding of $30,000 a year has been the same since my dad was on the handyman board, and he was a counselor for 18 years, and I've been a counselor for 14. We have never had an increase, ever. We lost, when the United Way pulled out, they were giving us $10,000 a year. We lost that right away, so that was helping out huge at that time. Our ridership before COVID, the count, I don't know if they were doing head count, I can't remember if they were doing head counts, but like in 18, we were at 10,879 per year. 19 and 97, 27. And then when COVID hit, like we were down to 3,100, 33. 23, we were back up to 5,098. We've got 3,324 so far this year. So our ridership is slowly coming back, but it's never came back to where it was. Basically, to get our money, we have to do our audit, which charges $3,500 to get our $30,000 from the government. That's a major requirement, it has to be done. So basically, take our grant minus our audit every year. And our, basically between our safeties and our auto pack and our audit is $12,300 a year, right there, just to basically operate to start with. We have a contract with Justin. Last one we signed up for 3 years, so we know what our cost there is going to be, but.
Right.
And all our big cost is on the front end of the first half of the year. From here on out, like, we shouldn't have big costs. We should be able to recoup some. But we're getting too far behind. COVID just kind of left us in a major hole, and we can't crawl back out of it too bad.
So there's 2 or 3 vehicles?
We have the big bus and 2 small vans. And the older one is like 2014 with 230,000 clicks on it already. We should be looking at replacing it, but we have no money to start that.
So the older van is 2014?
Yeah, the older, smaller van. The bus, I don't know.
It's before that.
It's before that, yeah. It's even older, so.
Could be 2006, somewhere in that.
Yeah. And very costly to run. It's got a big V10 in it. It's not cheap. We never make a lot of money with the bus if it's on the road, that's for sure.
And we haven't even thought of really about putting money away for replacement either. That's another big concern when we're looking at down the road, what can we do with the partners, how to start looking at replacement of these vans.
And one of our biggest costs was the newer van, the transmission went, so that was a $7,000 cost that we weren't really expecting.
So in your travels and that, with other communities and that, do you see any difference in the modeling, the way things are done here compared to other locations, or?
They had a seminar in Brandon, which I went and attended, like for the southwestern area for handy vans, just only. And it was the same, as far as everyone I talked to that day, like nobody's making money. There was one municipality there, she said they just went through the keys on the desk and said, you're not gonna help us, we can't float it. Some of them are doing volunteer drivers. Well, that's a whole another ball of wax, and you try to start working with volunteer drivers and trying to organize stuff. Well, like we get enough rides, we need, like, Justin there basically hired to look after the drivers. as a board, I don't wanna be looking after who's driving
No.
who. That's not what I'm there for.
Yeah. So through going to that meeting of the group and that, did you guys talk about rates, or do you know where?
Some were higher. I know we've discussed rates because we had our handyman meeting at noon here today. But there's, like Justin said, a lot of the people are regulars. They're on their whatever pension they get. Like, there's not a lot of wiggle room. Like there, we even talked about how what's her name from Han there. Michelle. She has one client there after all her tax or rents paid and expenses. She has $254 left in the month to buy groceries. Like, seniors don't have a lot of wiggle room, and they're not up, and the government's not paying them a lot more, I'll tell you.
So explain that funding, like you were saying that it hasn't changed, so that comes out annually each year,
Yeah, from the provincial government.
and there's been no adjustment for that, however, did you say?
It was brought up at AMM last year there, that they were requesting to increase funding for handyvans.
Yeah, I do remember hearing them say that, but it's been a lot of years, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think basically from the beginning. If you go back that many years, well, 30,000 then took care of a lot of expenses, but we're not there anymore.
Yeah.
And then the 10 grand we were getting from the United Way helped out. And then there was a lady passed away and left the handy van about $30,000 one year, which helped us out greatly. That was before you were even on the board prior to that, but yeah. So I don't know what we kind of talked about today. Going forward, we're gonna have to look at all of us, all the municipalities involved here, like maybe $20,000 a year of extra funding, just to keep us floating. Because if the provincial government doesn't come up with more, I'm not sure, like, we don't, advertising, we talked about on the vans, but as soon as you get provincial funding like that, we're not allowed to do that. Like, we can't bring that extra. That's government's funding that, and that's not happening.
That's disappointing, actually.
Yeah.
Send you a picture, but.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's businesses out there that would support us that way if we could, but we can't. We're not allowed to do
So as
that.
soon as you do that, you lose the funding from
Yeah.
the government.
Yeah, you can.
That's
It's
not.
in
yeah.
their contract, it's not allowed.
It'd be a good traveling billboard for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
So and you say the bus doesn't make any money?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't go out much. Like, it's only on a, when we have to basis. We've upped the rates pretty high.
Like this was about 7, 8 years ago when I looked into the advertising on it, and then you couldn't. Maybe things have changed now.
No, I talked to Connie tonight, she talked
Okay.
to a person she knows in Burden because it was on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was their minor hockey bus that had the advertising. Not the handy van, they're not allowed to put the advertising on the handy van.
Okay.
She talked to, so.
But we thought of asking now, at least for the partners, we got something to work for budget if we start talking now.
Yeah.
And
So
making
what,
people aware of it.
so when you go through and budget, are you, like, how big a loss would you be having annually, or does it kind of ebb and flow, or what do you?
Well, our biggest problem is like their expense for the transmission here. And like cause that van only had 130,000 kilometers on it, and then the transmission fell out of it. So, which is, like, those Dodge minivans are usually bulletproof, like, they're a pretty good brand. But now to buy a new van, you only can go to an 8-seater. Like, they don't even make a smaller van anymore. Like, you're talking 175,000 to 200,000 for a van.
Oh, wow. So then that bus would be even worse than that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we bought the last one back in what, 2014?
19.
19, so yeah.
19.
It wasn't 175 then, you're probably 120 or something, maybe the way things have inflated so much.
Yeah.
It's not slowing down.
Yeah, and, you know, I truly empathize for people who count on the handy van as a mode of transportation, but, you know, in light of all that, I just don't see how, you know, and I think you guys being very proactive, number one, coming and talking to municipal governments,
Mhm.
you know, who want that service provided for our vulnerable citizens who need that transportation, but
Yeah.
I don't know how we don't, I also have to look at some of those fees that we do charge. I mean, if we know we're gonna be losing money every trip, which seems like that's the way it's going right now, just with, when we take the cost of the licensing, the fuel costs, the cost of replacement's gone up. We all know what's happened to minimum wages even just for that in
Well, I
the
know
last
that's
3
with
years.
Justin and his contract.
Yeah.
Like I had that conversation with him, I said, you gotta realize you're looking at wage increases over the next 3 years.
I
too.
mean, we're gonna have to see a rate increase. I mean, the idea that we can hold the line there indefinitely just doesn't seem. I mean, I guess as someone here that sits around the table, we have to make those decisions on taxation and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the popular decision is to hold the line at zero, but we know that's not practical or
The only problem we have as a handyman is the senior population with limited income. And those are, you feel real mean to start targeting that group.
but it's not targeting, it's,
Well, they're the ones using it.
yeah,
So-
but I
think
understand, but it's,
The alternative is
it threatens the whole
you may
service.
pay a little bit extra, but like you say, it'll threaten the service and then it may not be there at all. So would they rather pay 50 cents extra a ride or not have a ride available?
Like maybe a small increment might not be
Yeah.
too bad, it might be acceptable.
Well, we're not saying
If you're
like double
thinking-
rates or
That's
anything
yeah.
like that.
No,
It's
You're
just
thinking then you
Like I
lose
think you
everything.
do have to, like, inflation's irrelevant, it's.
As fuel
and
went
I
up,
know
we were
it's
having to
terrible,
increase
but-
just to cover costs because like just the rate of the price of fuel. It's kind of leveled at the moment.
Yeah.
If it stays there or not, like, as soon as it jumps, we have to raise our rate.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
So I know you've mentioned that, again, the funding hasn't changed for so many years and that, and you mentioned about, well, one community saying that, you know, they weren't gonna be able to continue. Is that kind of a trend that you see gonna be happening?
Well, at that meeting, and I actually went and looked up Dawson's budget, and then they don't have handyman in there at all. But at that time, when I was at that meeting, the CAO was there. He was basically looking after the handyman in Dawson, and they were budgeting, along with what the government gives, they were putting 60,000 a year into it to keep it floating.
So that was the city themselves?
That
or
was the
that
city of Dawn.
surrounding area? or-
Yeah, but see, well, the accident, that was, they had other private ones, and that was a private one that actually got in that accident.
Okay, didn't
Going to
realize
the
that.
casino. That wasn't their actual handyman through the city.
So on your fuel, on your parts, on your repairs, do you collect the GST back?
Should be.
I think so, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
we
sure
do.
she is, yeah.
And,
Because we're nonprofits.
oh, no, we've been arguing about the provincial tax one for a long time, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't think the provincial's an option.
And we've been doing fundraising as much as you can, but there's so much fundraising going on around the community too, it's hard to even talk fundraising for this.
Right.
It's tough.
So for the sake of the $30,000, would you consider sponsorship? Like, if you could raise more than 30 by
Well, that's the
getting,
question, yeah.
Well, I guess, yeah, that would be the question. No, we've never gone out to lobby to see how much we could actually get.
right,
But
just a thought, like, you know,
Yeah.
the stride van, or, you know, like,
Yeah.
right, lions, like, you know,
But we have a Western Caucus group in the Southwest Manitoba. Every month we have a meeting and handy van comment comes up every year, here all the time. Like, everybody's having a hard time handy, you just can't afford it. But you want to keep it for your seniors, like you don't want to lose what you already got for the seniors. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be sitting here, so.
I would say more than you want to, it's a vital service, like it's,
Yeah.
it's not
And it's only
optional.
getting more demand with the new hospital out there, and you purchase land out on way further west yet. So like, there's gonna be more demand for that service. To doctor's appointments and.
And is there a lot out to specialists or that? Is there a lot of travel to going to doctors
I would say, yeah, probably, there's a good chunk of
Justin
it.
does a
is
lot
that, yeah.
with the hospital and, yes.
And we do get calls from the hospital to take people home or possibly even to Brandon. There is, they use us too at time to time, so if there's no other alternative, we'll get called if we're available to look after stuff like that, so.
And Justin was talking about kids and that for other outside activities, but by the time you start getting seat belts in there and car seats in there and somebody to administer it, liabilities, it's just something.
Transporting children under 5 years old is kind of a gray area. I'd have to talk to AutoPath and see where you can stand on liability on that one.
If you can think of a way to make it work.
Yeah.
But I think as far as the money, like we sort of, we haven't been asking for any over the years, have we really, John?
No,
Just things caught
it
up
was
to
only
this
that 1
issue.
year.
And we haven't been putting anything away for future replacement. That's the biggest concern right now too. Like, we should be doing these once every, 5 years? So you got a 10-year-old machine at the most or something like that? Like
How many municipalities are involved?
Rosedale, Westlake, Gladstone?
No.
Or no. Glenelg,
Glenelg, Lansdowne.
Glenelg, Lansdowne, and North Cypress Langford.
Yeah.
And Town.
Four of us.
Four of us, yeah. Like, we all spend money on places like the Yellowhead and that, for the younger generation to keep their prices down. And yet we're not really giving a whole pile to our seniors who are a pretty important part of our community.
Yeah.
Han gets money from all of us, so
Yeah.
much per capita.
Yeah.
I think it's 50 cents or something like that. But they got a big increase in their government funding also.
Yeah.
We did, they got a 25% increase.
So you were saying, just as a suggestion, how were you looking at this 20,000 apiece? Like,
Well, basically, the same funding as what the care home's under is what we've used before,
oh, that I'm not familiar with.
percentage-wise. So-
Well, we were looking at 20,000 altogether, right?
Yeah,
Not each
Oh,
entity.
okay.
Yeah.
Just one,
20,000
amongst
with
everybody.
all four of us in on our share of that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what we're kind of looking at.
Yeah.
So is that a per capita?
I don't know if they based it originally on the care home when that was done.
The care home must have been.
Because that percentage
per
is used
capita
on the
that they-
taxes, so it gets paid back to us now, I believe. It's the same formula.
But things have changed so much too, I wonder if that going per capita might be.
I like the idea we go along with the way hand is being funded.
Yeah, the same as hand.
You realize Neepawa is way higher now than where it was.
Yeah.
But we also know
Yeah.
that the care home agreement is costing each and every single person in the town of Neepawa
Mhm.
to pay you guys every year. So we don't want to do that anymore to our ratepayers. So fairness would indicate
Yeah.
per capita,
Not per
the way,
postal code.
the way of it
The way hand does it.
was done, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, you'd figure I'd take the 20,000, work on your population, and
Yep.
get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Which would be work too, that would be,
Yeah.
I don't have. an
Because
issue
up
with
until this point, the municipalities have not given handyman any money.
that. Only the 1 year we ran a deficit there, and then,
Yeah.
There is an agreement where the four entities cover the
Okay.
shortfall
Cover
at
the
the end of the
losses.
day. What that split is, I don't know. Do you know that, Colleen, or not?
No, when we actually look back at our records everywhere, every minute, everything we have nothing in our records that talk about how the handyman splits
funded.
any costs.
Okay.
So I would have to defer to the minutes of your board
okay.
to find that discussion.
'Cause I know Judy, when she was our
I'm not
treasurer,
saying it
she
doesn't
knew
exist,
what it
just
was.
we don't have any.
She knew the formula at that time.
Maybe she still
But I think Wendy does too, actually, I've talked to her.
But
about
somebody must have a record
Yeah.
somewhere.
Must be something.
it. Wendy was CAO when that happened with
But that's,
the care
yeah,
home.
the thing is,
At that
like, we
time.
all understand the care home agreement, but there is nothing that said we're taking that and extrapolating
No,
over to the
that's-
handyman board.
Yeah,
No.
I
that's how.
have
it's-
nothing that speaks to that.
Okay. The per capita basis works I don't have an issue with that at all. That's fine, dude. So,
So you're thinking of this being an annual ask that you
Yep.
would, from all municipalities? So then, would you still be asking then all municipalities to cover a deficit?
we shouldn't have a deficit.
But what if you do?
Yeah, I guess that's how those
Have the
rules are
same
written.
percentage, I would imagine you'd probably have to go that way, yeah.
You know, if we had structured budget, I always like budget versus responding to emergency.
Yeah.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
we
Well,
don't get structured budget, I mean, if it did alleviate the risk of those sudden shortfalls, I would always defer to budget and plan.
Well, that's why we wanted to talk tonight, to work towards a budget, work towards a plan
Yeah.
going forward. Like, we might not get the money right now, but I think we can function the way we are until everybody gets their budget done and work it out.
Yeah. No, that's a good approach, you're right. Okay, any other questions, or have you guys got any other comments? If not, well, thank you for coming out. We'll certainly have to spend some time on this, and
Yvonne's the expert, so she
Yeah.
knows it.
that's why we keep saying her.
That's why it keeps entering. Good, thank you very much for doing that. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good night, everybody.
We weren't in camera. No. Okay, we'll move on to correspondence going.
We just have the one item, which actually relates to 3 different concerns that have been expressed regarding e-scooters around town. This is a very difficult topic. Denise brought it up, I think, at one of our last meetings. You know, the use of sidewalks, you look at the size of the wheels that are permitted on sidewalks, because it's normally related to children using them or whatnot. Just so the public knows, it is a very big issue. Manitoba does not have legislation to regulate e-scooters. This does not give a municipality any supportive legislation to assist with enforcement. We did draft a bylaw. A bylaw falls flat when you haven't got anything to support any actions that you take under that bylaw, should you be necessary to go to court or anything, because there is no remedy available there for it. We've been trying to gather information from communities in Manitoba and across Canada to see how they're dealing with the issue. And most of them are really taking the avenue of education. There is really nothing. They're supporting, people have to follow the rules of the road, all of those kinds of things. Even here, we spoke to the local RCMP, who, they're going to try and, have young people get off the sidewalks. But then where do we send them to? It makes it difficult. We are working on an active transportation route around town. It's going to take a while to facilitate that. It's going to require some pavement or some cement and whatnot, and creating the connectivity paths throughout Neepawa, but that's a little ways out as well. I guess we just need to ask the public to respect people walking on the sidewalk if you are on wheels of any sort. And just the last thing is, we also understand Manitoba Public Insurance is evaluating the impact of the various electric devices that people are starting to use, whether it's a hovercraft or a hoverboard, e-scooters, e-bikes, whatever. There needs to be rules in place that then gives municipalities the ability to take maybe a little bit better enforcement action. So unfortunately, even the bylaw officer, you call somebody, there's a scooter in front of a giant tiger. By the time we send somebody out there, they're long gone. It's almost impossible to deal with this. So we are going to try still continuing our vein of education. I understand, I think the Rotary possibly is going to do a little session on e-scooters or something, and maybe I've got the wrong group. But any help any community organization can give to getting the message out there would be fabulous.
Yes, no, I understand. I'm pretty sure, did we not hear that AMM was trying to lobby as well
Yeah.
for some?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a problem, and some of these new ones are fast, really fast, so.
And quiet,
Yeah,
like you don't hear them coming.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll continue on with finance. Let's do an account. Okay, be it resolved that we approve the accounts for July 2024 totaling $844,316.50 as reviewed, representing check 2024 01120, 2024 01386, but excluding 2024 01360. Moved by Councillor Gerard, seconded by Councillor Pottinger. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I'm gonna remove myself from this next item.
Okay, Councillor Gerard will remove himself for conflict of interest. I was just trying to see if my name was on here too, so I guess not. Okay, be it resolved that we approve check 2024 01360360. Let's do that again. 2024 01360 for July 2024 to Home Hardware totaling $1,693.97. Moved by Councillor Pottinger, seconded by Councillor Nadeau. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and you've all reviewed the June statement. So, be it resolved that we approve the financial statement for the month ended June 30th, 2024. Moved by Councillor Kostenchuk, seconded by Councillor Gerard. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Unfinished business, Colleen?
KSO Real Estate, this is the property at 574 4th Avenue. They purchased the property and they had a variation approved to intensify the zone from a residential single unit dwelling to a residential 2-unit dwelling to be able to construct a duplex on the site. So we're at the end of the expiry of the variance. They have not been able to facilitate that construction, but my understanding is they have approached the planning office now and are prepared to get that underway. So to make sure that the files are correct, we're asking under the authority of the planning legislation to allow them a 1-year extension to build their duplex.
Okay, questions? Okay, the motion reads, whereas Resolution 2023-145, approved variation V042023 of Horizon Builders on behalf of KSO Real Estate to provide for the construction of a 2-unit dwelling on lots 17 and 18, Block 3, Plan 425 at 574 4th Avenue. And whereas the variation has expired and the property owner is requesting an extension to allow him to proceed with his construction plans, therefore be it resolved that we approve a 1-year extension for the variance granted under application V042023 for KSO Real Estate to allow for the construction of the intended 2-unit dwelling. Moved by Councillor Pottinger, seconded by Councillor Sisley. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, new business, Colleen?
The first one is the variation application that you heard earlier in the meeting, hearing for Elmer and Madeline Berry-Yuga of Lot 1, Plan 7817 at 185B PTH 5 North to build a garage and have it become a conforming use, basically.
Okay, any questions on that? Be it resolved that we approve variation application V05-2024 of Elmer and Madeline Berry-Yuga respecting Lot 1, Plan 7817 at 185 PH5 North to intensify a non-conforming use by allowing for the construction of an attached garage with CH Commercial Highway Zone. Moved by Councillor Nadeau, seconded by Councillor Kostenchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Railway crossing, Colleen.
Denise, did you want to speak to this or no?
Sure. So with Transport Canada's new legislation on railway crossings, I've been working on some non-compliant ones for a number of years now. And due to the back and forth with Canadian Pacific and the city, they just can't meet the timelines for the approval of one of our requests. So they've asked us to temporarily close one of our rail crossings. So this would be the rail crossing on Hurl Road. Seasonally, it's a seasonal road at this time anyway, but we do an official closure of it right now, just noting it's temporary, for a 1-year time period, till such time as they can complete the appropriate design for the new rail crossing, so it meets all new standards. That's kind of the gist of it there.
So is that our responsibility to need to close off those roads? Like, do we have to come up with some kind of barriers? for
Yeah,
them?
I would imagine that CNIPSIP would demand or check in that we physically close it. So we'll probably have to put some form of obstruction in place and signage, noting is it a full closure at this point.
Do we have any idea if they'll stick to the 1 year sort of thing, or?
They should, because we'll put an expiry, so if we only know this is a temporary, noting that our temporary closure expires in a year's time, at that point that road's open again, so it puts it back into their court saying they have to complete their design.
Yeah. Yeah, because like you said, it is a seasonal road, but, there's a number of people who use it.
So just to be clear, the grade crossing regulations come into full effect on November 28th, 2024. Transport Canada must meet those regulations. So the work Denise has been doing over the last few years with the rail company has led us to the point where they understand November's not that far away and we're not going to meet the deadline. So the only option is, because it's not being met, is to close it until it is. This is not just random, it's legit.
Yeah, and it is a hard road, like it's got quite an angle on there, you could easily make a mistake there, so. Okay, any questions from anyone? No? Okay, whereas the grade crossing regulations comes into full effect on November 28, 2024, and will help improve safety at Canada's 14,000 public grade crossings, and whereas the crossing at Hurl Road must meet Transport Canada's crossing compliant deadline of November 28, 2024. And whereas Neepawa and CPKC will not be able to meet the deadline due to the length of time required for planning, design, approvals, procurement, construction of both the required road upgrade and the gated warning system. Whereas the town of Neepawa and CPKC will work diligently to expedite the whole Hurl Road crossing upgrades to ensure compliance, therefore be it resolved that in order to ensure public safety and compliance with the regulations, the crossing at Hurl Road shall be temporarily closed for 1 year period running from November 15th, 2024 to November 15th of 2025 to allow for the required road upgrades and installation of the gated warning system. Moved by Councillor Kostenchuk, seconded by Councillor Gerard. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Training requests.
So we have a training request from Marilyn Crew, our Economic Development Officer, and normally these training requests are handled in-house when we look at what budget is available. In our policy, though, anything that's going to be out of province has to come to council for resolution of council. So this is for the 2024 Economic Developers Association of Canada Conference from September 30th to October 3rd in Edmonton. At the onset of hiring Ms. Crew, it was determined that the effectiveness of having her attend a few of the Canadian Association conferences would be very valuable to Neepawa. She does not attend every year. The proximity of this one in relation to Manitoba, clearly Edmonton, is affording us a little better ability to allow her to attend. So if you're in approval, I recommend that she be allowed to go, especially with our new development and our new acres and the growth in Neepawa. I think speaking with other provinces is going to be critical for us.
Okay, any questions? Be it resolved that we approve the Economic Development Officer to attend the Economic Developers Association of Canada Conference from September 30th to October 3rd in Edmonton. Moved by Deputy Mayor Parrott, seconded by Councillor Sisley. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Tipping fees, Colleen?
You all are aware we just changed our tipping fee policy, and we're gonna propose, we recommend changing it again. So after we did that, and I think it was our last meeting of council, the Evergreen Board of Directors passed a motion to increase the base rate for contaminated recycling loads to $250 per ton, effective August 1st. This is raising it from 200. They're finding that perhaps the increase in penalty might improve recycling over there. I don't know how effective it'll be, but you gotta hit the people where maybe the pocketbook is. And because what's happening is when that recycling gets rejected out there, it ends up going in the cell. And if you're looking at the rebuild of a cell at approximately, Brian would know this, $800,000, Neepawa fills up those cells a lot quicker than the collective of the remaining municipalities, which means the longevity of that site out there becomes shorter and shorter. So by increasing this fee, we're hoping to keep the recycling clean, keep it out of the cells, and hopefully keep the longevity of the cells and the whole waste site in place for more years than basically what the trend is telling us.
Questions?
I understand in the cost recapture, but when you see recycling collection at large, blue bins just being dumped into a truck, and that's where this contamination occurs. I don't know how the 250 will sort it out from how a town sends recycling there. I mean, if we've got industrial people that are dealing directly, hopefully it.
That's the bulk of it.
Okay, yeah, like I would say, in terms of communities, just dumping blue bins into a truck, I mean, we can try to take up our enforcement with residents, but.
We're back to when in doubt, throw it out, please.
Yeah, yeah. If you're really not sure, it's gotta go in the garbage.
Okay, resolution reads, be it resolved that we approve an amendment to policy OPE 015, disposal and tipping fees at Evergreen to increase the base rate for contaminated recycling loads from $200 per ton to $250 per ton effective August 1st. Moved by Councillor Kostenchuk, seconded by Councillor Legault. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Storefront improvement.
So we have another application to the Storefront Incentive Improvement Program. It's an application from Mountain Dental for new lighting and some new signage. The total project comes in at $2,361, so at 50% of that, or the max of 50, clearly 50% is cheaper. $1,180.50 is what we're recommending, the 50% of the sign and the light.
Okay, questions? Be it resolved that we approve an application to Storefront Improvement Program submitted on behalf of Dr. Craig Fedorch of Mountain Dental for a new sign and new lights at 452 First Avenue. Incentive provided at 50% of total costs and equaling $1,180.50. Moved by Councillor Kostenchuk, seconded by Councillor Sisley. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, I guess this next one is pretty straightforward. It's National Royal Canadian Legion Week. So for the Legion here, whereas the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 23 has been a highly respected partner in our community, consistently demonstrating commitment to local veterans, their families, and to the betterment of the community as a whole. And whereas the partnership between our community and the Royal Canadian Legion is built on trust, collaboration, and a mutual respect that enhances community spirit, volunteerism, and supports the well-being of our residents. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Neepawa do hereby declare September 15th to the 21st, 2024 as National Royal Canadian Legion Week. We urge all residents to participate in recognizing and honoring Royal Canadian Legion Branch 23 for their service and commitment to local veterans, their families, and this community. Moved by Councillor Sisley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Parrott. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Yes, we've had a lot to do with this group, and they are doing a lot of good work. Water treatment expansion, Colleen.
So as we set the framework for how Neepawa grows and how we develop the 320 acres we more recently have purchased to address housing and adhere to our growth, we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes looking at our infrastructure, and more particular our water treatment plant. We want to make sure the availability of water and make sure that we can treat it. So the Town of Neepawa Water Treatment Plant is designated as a Class 3 facility by the province of Manitoba. It was upgraded in 2013 and can treat up to 75 liters per second. It provides potable drinking water to the population in Neepawa of roughly, we're guessing at 6,000. 5,685 was the census number. And approximately 1,100 persons in the neighboring municipalities of Rosedale and North Cypress through the rural water distribution lines, and of course to the many businesses in Neepawa, including High Life, our largest user. Having completed a recent housing study and strategy, the town is now focusing on increasing the availability of housing, and while it is already evident that we are not meeting the current needs of housing for the community, by the year 2028, it's only 4 years away, the time period of which will include the opening of a new regional hospital, is projected our shortfall will be 460 dwelling units. So to begin to address the housing issue earlier this year, we proceeded with the purchase of 320 acres of land and initiated discussions with various departments and consultants to ensure that our infrastructure has the ability to sustain the intended growth. Specific to the water treatment plant, as a result of discussions with Water Services Board, the timing is now appropriate to initiate a study that would evaluate the water treatment plant at its current state and at a potential future growth state. Once the evaluation is completed, a detailed design will premise plant expansion. And the recommendation of staff, so it's not critical, nobody run out and say the sky's falling, that's not what's happening here. We're asking you to support a resolution to request technical and financial assistance from the Water Services Board for the completion of a water treatment plant study and or detailed design of an expansion to the Neepawa water treatment plant so that we are ready for the growth.
Okay, any questions? Be it resolved that the Town of Neepawa hereby requests technical and financial assistance from Manitoba Water Services Board to proceed with a study and or a detailed design for the expansion of the Neepawa water treatment plant. Moved by Deputy Mayor Parrott, seconded by Councillor Kostenchuk. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Whistleblowers, Colleen.
So the Public Interest Disclosure Whistleblowers Protection Act, or PETA, is an important part of the Manitoba government's ethical environment and framework. It facilitates the disclosure and investigation of significant and serious wrongdoing in or relating to public bodies and protects employees who make disclosures from reprisal. PETA provides municipalities and local government districts the choice to opt into the legislation and extend protections under PETA to their employees. This helps enable civic employees to feel safer if incidents of wrongdoing need to be reported in the workplace. Municipalities and local government districts that decide by council resolution to opt into the legislation will be included in the framework by regulation. So all they're requiring is not a bylaw, just pass a council resolution asking to opt in to this program and give the support to employees that across the province. There are municipalities that feel they would like to have this particular protection. I would suggest we're pretty good here, but you never know, so it's nice to have that on the record.
Yeah. Questions? Whereas section 2-1 of the Public Interest Disclosure Whistleblower Protection Regulation under the Public Interest Disclosure authorizes entities named in the schedule to be designated as government bodies for the purpose of the Act, whereas the Act facilitates the disclosure and investigation of significant and serious wrongdoings in or relating to public bodies and protects employees who make disclosures from any reprisals such as discipline, demotion, termination, adverse work conditions, or threats of same. Whereas the council of the town of Neepawa deem it to be good practice to allow for the protection of all town of Neepawa employees should they deem it necessary to make a disclosure under the Act. Therefore, be it resolved that the council of the town of Neepawa do hereby request the Department of Municipal and Northern Relations and the Public Service Commission to formally add the town of Neepawa to the schedule contained in the Public Interest Disclosure Whistleblower Protection Regulation, therefore affording all employees protection under the legislation. Moved by Councillor Pottinger, seconded by Councillor Sisley. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and we have one more bylaw.
So at the previous meeting of the council, we asked you to put a resolution forward to community and regional planning out of Brandon to prepare a bylaw that would basically redesignate a particular piece of land in our jurisdiction as part of the northeast quarter of section 32 in township 14, range 15, west of the principal meridian, more precisely Rule 6400, parcel A, plan 56267. To put this in perspective where this is, it's the parcel we more recently, or one of the purchased in the most recent 320 acres, north of the rail line along PTH 5. The obvious rezoning to take that from agriculture restricted to industrial heavy zone, because we've already spoken about the intent of that parcel and what it should be zoned as, so that was a no-brainer to get that one off the plate. So that particular part, and then there's a map amendment as well for a part of the northeast quarter as well of section 32. It's the same parcel, but it's a small piece that fronts along the highway. We want that piece to go from agricultural restricted to commercial highway. So now we're just starting the framework of setting forth the correct zoning for the acreage as we proceed. We're hoping you'll get first reading to this bylaw. It will allow it to go to public hearing eventually, and advance us a little further into the queue with how we get our development going over there.
Questions? Pretty straightforward. Be it resolved that bylaw number 3231-24 being a bylaw of the town of Neepawa to amend the town of Neepawa zoning bylaw number 3184-18 be now read for the first time. Moved by Councillor Kostanchuk, seconded by Councillor Gerard. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Other business, Colleen?
I have nothing.
Anyone else on the business? If not, be it resolved that the council of the town of Neepawa do now adjourn this regular meeting at 7:59 p.m. Moved by Councillor Kostanchuk, seconded by Deputy Mayor Parrott. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.